welcome to In the Huddle with John Ritchie. It's a special time for the Eagles, so we're in person. It's a great time to be in person. We have the Eagles taking on the Giants in South Philly for the divisional round. I don't know, looking back at it, if there has been, there had to have been an NFC matchup in this round of the playoffs before, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
So it could be a first.
It doesn't feel like that has happened.
Yeah, so
but I'm glad it's happening.
High stakes divisional round game against a rival. What do you think's going to come out in this game?
I am rejoicing. I think we all should be rejoicing that we're playing the 6th seed. The Giants were not supposed to make it through the first round. They pulled an upset. They played great for the Giants. But I think a lot of people are overestimating how good they are because they just played a horrendous Vikings team. That game between the Vikings and Giants, they both had negative point differentials for this season. The Vikings, with all those wins, were outscored by their opponents for the season, in large part because their defense was horrendous. The Giants, their offense functioned at a high level against a terrible defense in Minnesota, and they will not have that advantage against us. We're a much better team than the Giants are. The first time we played them this season in Week 14, we scored 48 points. We ran for 253 yards. It was domination, and I understand they looked good last week. We will look so much better. We are rested. We have 21 of 22 starters taking the field for us. I'm excited to watch this because I think it's going to be a dominant win.
How nervous does it make you with Jalen Hurts returning from that injury in the final game of the regular season? He looked a little stiff, didn't look his best, and then you got Lane Johnson coming back, you got Josh Sweat coming back, and Lane is playing through that injury.
Yeah.
Is there any nerves with that?
Well, Josh Sweat, not nervous about Josh Sweat. He's on record saying he felt fine soon,
almost
shortly after the
yeah.
injury. They were just being cautious with him. Lane Johnson, absolutely that's a worry because if he can't be Lane Johnson, it's just a matter of what percent of Lane Johnson are we getting. I have not dealt with that injury at any point in my career. I don't know how much his mobility will be affected, his strength will be affected, but I know that a 75% Lane Johnson is still better than most right tackles in the NFL, and at least he knows who to block and how to block them. Jalen Hurts, look, Howard Eskin told us when the injury occurred to Jalen Hurts, the SC joint sprain, he was told it was going to be a 2-week thing. We're talking about 5 weeks later. A 2-week injury, 5 weeks later, Jalen will be fine. Jalen is so tough, and he's going to be unleashed. In the last week of the regular season, they blocked things differently because they were trying to protect him. They will not do that any longer. It's do or die time. You lose, you go home. They will not protect him the way they did against the Giants in Week 18. I think he looked frustrated on the sideline of that game because they were holding him back. I don't think he's physically limited. I think that's supported by the fact that he's not on the injury report. That's a great thing for us.
Yeah, you also have to wonder if it's because they knew this was a scenario that they could face just a couple weeks later if they kind of held back in that situation too.
I'm positive that came into their thinking.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, he is so over the top with, hey, we're not going to give you anything to work with, that he wants to try to keep everything under wraps. They did not show anything. It was totally vanilla offensively and defensively against the Giants the last time we played.
So before we get your score prediction, I do want to know, so when the Giants played the Vikings last week, they did hold Justin Jefferson to 47 yards. But then they let tight end Hawkinson get around 130. So it looks like they were able to hold down their main target that they really prepped for.
Yeah.
The Eagles, you can't really do that. You can't just cover one guy and then expect to let everybody else get theirs.
Right.
So who do you think goes off in this game?
That's the point being that A.J. Brown is so good, you can't try to bracket him because then Devontae will go off. If you try to overcompensate for Devontae, Dallas Goedert is going to get you. I think they can all go off, and I think it's because we will start with the run game. I understand Leonard Williams didn't play in Week 14. He's a great D lineman for the Giants. He is outstanding, but our offensive line is amongst the best in the NFL. We're going to push people around. The run will set up the pass. I expect all those guys to eat. I expect this to be dominant. I mean, I expect this to get out of hand.
So,
I truly do.
So what's your score prediction?
42-20.
Oh, I love that. I hope that happens. I'm going like 28-24. I'm way more modest.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a little nervous about the injuries.
The line on this game is over a touchdown.
It is.
They normally know what they're talking about.
Yes.
So I don't think it's going to be close.
I hope so. And hopefully we'll be happy when we talk next week. But that's all we have for this episode of In the Huddle with John Ritchie. Make sure you check out John for now on WIP 10 to 2. And go check out Bet Parks, the app, and all our social media platforms. We'll huddle again next week.